Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Multifamily Chronicles, and I'm your host, Adrian Danila. Today, we're welcoming Michael Izenberg. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks, Adrian. Really happy to be here.
Michael is the Regional Vice President with Western Wealth Communities. Michael, let's start the show by introducing yourself to the audience. Tell us a little bit about your professional background.
Well, thank you again for having me. I am Michael Izenberg. I am the Regional Vice President overseeing Texas for Western Wealth Communities. I have been in our industry for going on 25, 26 years now and have loved most of the minutes, not every minute, but I still continue to come back year after year and I started, like many of us did that are seniors in this industry. I started leasing apartments 25 years ago and have sort of done everything in between.
Michael, what made you stick around for 25 years? I know that you're a passionate person, you're a passionate operator. You and I worked together for a little while, and then I know your passion for the industry, but I want you to share this with the audience. How did you discover your passion for property management, and what made you fall in love with it? You can be around for 25 years without loving what you're doing.
In the beginning, it was sort of a means to an end. It was a necessity. I needed a good, solid, stable job that helped me pay the bills, and I got an apartment discount. And when I was leasing apartments a trillion years ago with a company called Maryland, which has long since gone away, I was leasing apartments and had a 25% rent discount, and I thought I was rich. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And it led to not only a job but a career where it's afforded me some great things, and I've worked for some amazing people that afforded me really great opportunities that kept me engaged in our industry. There was always something. There was always the next step. There was always something to work towards. Always something to be excited about. And through that, and being open-minded to change, I was able to move. I don't know, at one point I was moving every year to different areas of the country, and I did that for 7 years. I moved 7 times in 8 years. And it gave me the opportunity to see a lot of our country that normally you wouldn't get to do. Most people, sometimes they're born in a town, live in the same city, and die in that same city, never leaving and never experiencing different cultures in our country, different areas in our country, different opportunities in our country. And I think it helped me to be a well-rounded person. The second part of that is, I think from day one, once I got past leasing apartments and into an assistant manager role and started to climb up the ladder, I realized that as operators, as what, quote unquote landlords, the word we're not supposed to say in our industry, it taught me that we have a really awesome responsibility as operators, as stewards of people's homes. I've run everything from, AAA, high rise, really pretty lease ups to workforce housing in the worst part of town. No matter what your real estate looks like, and I have an analogy I'm sure we'll talk about later in the show, but whether it's shiny and pretty and beautiful or a little knocked around, the people that are living in those homes really depend on us, and in some cases are giving us over half of their monthly disposable income. We better treat those people right. We are stewards for people's homes, and in some cases, the 4 walls and the roof over their head are the only things they have in this world. we better do right by those people. So I think that the genesis of my career, my passions have changed, and um, being compassionate and caring about people really have changed my opinions about our industry and who I align with now. And um, I want to work with people and work alongside people that share those same values.
I love that you're saying that, you want to align yourself with people that, share some of, your core values. And I think that's what makes all the difference in a world. At the end of the day, everybody has jobs to offer, amazing opportunities, but it's what does it make sense for you, right? At this point in your career, does it make sense that, you just take a job because of a title and great, money, or does it have to be meaningful work, right? A lot more than that.
The money's always going to come. I've learned. It took me a long time to learn that, but the money's always going to be there. If you're smart and you're good at what you do and you're honest and you operate with integrity, you're always going to have a job. My grandfather, who is unfortunately no longer with us, but he was a the sort of the touchstone in our family, and he helped shape who I am today. And he always said to me, "I'm never so lucky. I'm not going to be without a job." Um, and honesty and integrity were the cornerstones of why he was a very successful businessman in Canada. And I only hope that I can be half as successful as he was through some of those guiding principles. But if you're doing it just for money, and I'm not saying money isn't important, money doesn't make you happy. Money buys things. Things make people happy. Anybody that says that you don't need money, we all need money, but the money will come. And that maybe is the biggest lesson I've learned in life. The money will come. Selling your soul for a few dollars to people that you can't wake up and be happy to represent every day, that is not a sustainable model in our industry.
I totally agree and share that vision with you. If you don't feel like getting out of bed and being excited about what you do, that's probably not the right opportunity for you. It's probably time for you to seek a change. Michael, I wanted to ask you next. Share a few great things that are happening at Western Wealth currently at your company. Share with us, please.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about Western Wealth. Western Wealth is a company that I've wanted to work with for a very long time. The leadership there, bar none, it shares the same vision that I do. Western Wealth is a Canadian company that was founded in Canada by our founder, Janet LePage, who is an incredibly passionate, extremely dedicated, super smart individual who is well respected in our industry. And our American division is run by maybe one of the most inspirational women I've met in our industry. And there's a lot of inspirational women in our industry. But Jennifer Stachokas is by far the most honest, compassionate, give it to you straight, not sugarcoat it, always let you know where you stand type of leader that our industry has been craving for a very long time. She's kind, she's compassionate, and that shows in every individual that works at Western Wealth. I've been there for, in fact, 33 days now. And funny enough, I interviewed for the job that I'm currently in over a year ago. Jennifer interviewed me about a year and a half ago. And it was right in the middle of COVID. COVID was raging. And within 3 minutes of me sitting down with her, I knew I wanted to work for not only her, but the company. I just felt like our visions were aligned. It's they're a shop that does what a lot of shops do. Ones that you and I have worked for. They buy C, B minus assets, do a value add, hold on to them for a while, and then sell them and get a great return for their investors or a parent company. But we believe in a charity first culture, and everybody that works there. I spent a lot of time at our corporate office in Phoenix, and every single individual is of the same mindset. There's none of that. I'm doing a job because it's a job. Everybody believes in the vision. Currently, we have a couple of big initiatives that we do each year, but right now what we're planning for is our We've Got Your Back initiative, which is something that Janet LePage started a few years ago. And what that is we give backpacks full of school supplies to every one of the children living on our communities. So next or later this month, I'll be traveling to our sites in Houston. I'll be at our sites in Dallas. And we have over 5,200 backpacks that are being prepared and will be given out to every child on our community, because we believe that kids getting started off on the right foot before school is so important, especially now with families struggling. And when it harkens back to what I said about, in some cases, we're asking families to give us over half of their disposable income, and then what's left of that? People still have to buy food. People still have to, pay their cars, buy gas. Things are very tight for everyone, no matter how much money you make. People still have dreams, and they want to put money towards those dreams. I'm not a parent. I have 3 dogs, so I'm a dog dad, but I don't understand the struggles of, going to the store and how much school supplies are. I know my father, when I was going to school, spent a lot of money on school supplies for myself and my little brother. And if we can, through charity and through giving, help those families out that live on our communities, what a blessing. So We Give Back is a major initiative for us this year, and we are very excited about it. We're going to throw a big party on all of our properties. We've got bouncy houses, and we're making it, and pool slides, and we're making it a big thing. We invite the media to come out and really do our best to give back to those people that we're responsible for.
I love this. And what you just described, the part with giving back and giving backpacks and school supplies to the kids, what you're actually doing out there is more than just giving them a backpack. You're building community, and that's what our apartment communities should be. That's why we call them communities, right? That's why we have the OR community in apartment community. Like you're actually trying to build community in there is what you do. Do you agree?
I not only do I agree, but we're also taking the mindset of paying it forward. And in that act of kindness, in that act of charity, my faith is in Judaism, and there's a word in Judaism called tzedakah, and it's the translation is charity. And if you lead by that charity mindset and paying it forward, I'm not saying this is going to be the case, but you can start someone right now. Maybe it's changing the mindset of those residents that think that all we do is collect money. We don't care. We can show that we care. We're paying it forward. Or maybe those children that are going to school and are thinking about what their career path may be. Maybe we're starting the newest, youngest community managers, and we're getting them trained really early by paying it forward and building that community. And you're so right about community. I'll never forget when I started in our industry. I was always told that it's not an apartment complex, it's an apartment community. And now, all these years later, when I hear people say the word complex, it's just instinctive in me. I'm like, not a complex, we're a community.
Yeah, complex, when I hear the word complex, it makes me think about something that's industrial, something that has no heart and soul, right?
Right.
There's some buildings where people go to work or do something, but it has no soul. When you bring the word community, like, it makes it that people work there, they congregate there. This is their life, this is their home, a community. So it's a lot different, and you're absolutely right. And also, community is a powerful thing. Like, there's a lot of great things coming out of the sense of community. So I definitely commend your company for having this amazing initiative. And I do want to pick up on something else that you said about Jennifer, about the culture that you have over there at Western Wealth. Michael, how important is to have the right culture? And what does right culture look like for you, for Michael Izenberg?
Culture is everything. As I've grown in our industry, and the more senior I become, I realize that culture is far more important than the number on my paycheck. And I can't believe that I would be in a position to say that, and have turned down jobs paying more because I didn't align with their culture. I used to think that it was all about, I used to think that winning was about numbers on a paycheck. And I learned at some point in my career, thank goodness I learned, that is not the case. And culture, if you do not align with that company's culture, you are never going to be a success. Culture is everything. It's having a passion for not only what you do, but the people you work and surround yourself with every day. I think it's so important in attracting the right people. If you are in a culture-driven business, it is going to be easier to attract good talent, retain good talent, where everybody is fighting for the top talent. Every owner out there right now is saying, "I'll pay whatever it takes to get the right people." Well, it's not necessarily about, you can pay whatever you want to pay. You can pay me double, but if your culture is terrible, I'm not going to be happy. And if I'm not going to be happy, I'm not going to give you my best work. It's just, no matter how much you pay those people. Something we do different here at Western Wealth is to attract top talent. And this was maybe by far the most number one thing that clued me in that this was a team member driven company, is that day one, we're entitled to insurance benefits. Now, that may not mean much to someone that's 19 or 20 years old, that is a really relatively healthy person. I happen to be a cancer survivor, so insurance to me by far is the most important thing. It's more important than my paycheck. It's more important than anything you can offer me. A solid, well-balanced insurance plan is the number one thing. And the fact that the company was willing to think outside the box, where so many people are like, "Oh, you don't get insurance or benefits till 90 days. And, you're on your own for your COBRA for however how much that is." This company's like, "No, we accept you from day one. We welcome you as a Western Wealth team member." We like to say at Western Wealth, we're all part of the Orange Army. Our color is orange. So I was welcomed into the Orange Army from day one. And what a great sense of culture and and making you a day one team member, as opposed to that, oh, we'll see if you work after 90 days. We'll see if you're worthy of being here. No, we took the time and effort and energy to bring you here. Welcome to our family, day one. And that to me is maybe the most important thing that I've discovered in our industry, is that people decide on the first day whether they're going to be a team member there for 60, 90, 120 days, or they're going to be there for the rest of their career.
You said something very important, Michael. And you said, owners and, company presidents and leadership, they're out there saying, we're going to pay top dollar for the top talent. Well, that's a great thing to hear, for sure. People want to be compensated. But I'm also thinking, okay, if you don't have the right culture, the right environment, and you're actually paying to get the top talent, what's going to happen with the talent? And you explained a little earlier, said, am I going to be a productive member of this team, or I'm just going to be there? I think what happens more often that, we want to admit, when someone new walks into a negative environment, is that basically we're pushing them towards the back door. So all of our efforts to recruit, to screen, to get them on board, to convince them, right, if they're top talent, they have choices. People, they're top talent, they have choices. They don't have to work for us. They could work anywhere pretty much they want. And you make all this effort, you pay the top dollar, and you get them in just for them to find out that this is not for them, and you're pushing them towards the back door. What's the whole point in wasting all this resource and effort if they're gonna end up like leaving you shortly after?
Our industry does a really good job on training for a lot of positions. Our industry at times, I think you reach a certain level in our industry, and I've said this is my personal opinion. I'm not speaking for anybody out there, but we do a really good job of teaching leasing agents how to lease apartments, teaching assistant managers how to be good bookkeepers, teaching property managers how to run a multi-million-dollar asset. But when you get up to that regional level, I know, speaking from my experience, I thought I did, as an on-site property manager, I knew what my regional manager did. I had no idea. It was the biggest shock to me ever. I thought I knew what my vice president did, or my regional vice president, and then my vice president, and then as a president of a management company, I thought I knew what I was doing. The learning curve is steep in those positions, and we as an industry should do better in training up for those positions. But I have also seen it go very, very sideways. I've seen great companies do great things. I was a part of an organization called Gray Stone, not Gray Star, but Gray Stone. Really great, believes in charity, run by an incredible individual, Steve Rosenberg, who just decided one day that he has made so much money that he wants to give back to the community, and he built his property management arm into a charitable, not-for-profit organization, and really is a visionary and leader. I have also seen worked for other individuals that have the opposite approach of that. And I have seen people on day one be excited about coming into an organization. And I mentioned Greystone because I believe everybody has to be set up for success on day one. There is nothing worse than a team member that comes in and, they're not set up for success. Little things like their logins and passwords and company equipment, doesn't get there for a week, and they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs, and it allows a team member to think, wow, if they don't care enough about getting me the tools that I need to be successful on day one, what are they going to think about me on day 361? The day I started with Greystone, there was a knock on my door at 9 o'clock in the morning, and a courier was dropping off my cell phone, my laptop, some swag, and it made all the difference. The day I started at Western Wealth, my laptop was there. Jennifer met me personally at our office in Dallas, and we spent the next 3 days just doing the basic things that frustrate people so bad. Learning how to log into every one of our systems. You and I joke, you coming on the maintenance side, our biggest bash our head against the wall moment is maintenance compliance when it comes to tech things like getting your porter to check the email because they have to sign up for something. I think the real question we have to ask ourselves is that anybody taken a moment to teach that porter how to log in? Or do we just give them a bucket and some pickup sticks and say, go be a porter, like go pick up trash or go clean this? Or, why isn't that porter as important as me as a vice president? Why do we not give him the tools on day one to be successful? But, the office team or RVPs or RPMs or VPs get those. Our porters work harder than we do. They need to be set up for success just like all of us. So that leads back into culture, and I think culture permeates everything that we do.
I love how you just touched on the entire onboarding process, because basically that's what you just described, right? Day one, what do we do? What's ready for our employees? Whether it's the regional vice president of the company or the groundskeeper at a site level. And I think that experience is so crucial for new employees, because from our life experience, right, when you start with a company, if things don't go well the first day, it's expected, chances are that they're only going to go downhill from there. Like you're not going to expect that magically things will pick up and your experience is just going to become better and better and better by the day. That's just not a realistic expectation. Not to say that doesn't happen, but from my personal life experience, if things didn't go well the very first day or two or a week, like chances are they will start going down after that. They're not going to pick back up.
How many maintenance guys have you and I seen quit on the first day? How many maintenance guys have you and I see go for lunch that first day and never come back? Maintenance guy, we like to, a lot of people like to lay blame for that and point fingers. We should point fingers at ourselves. There's something that we did as leaders that was so off-putting to that person that we worked so hard to get, that anybody that has someone walk out at lunch and is not looking in a mirror and doing a little personal reflection, we're missing the mark as leaders.
100%. I couldn't agree more with the statement. Like, it's very, very easy to find and assign blame. It's probably a lot in human nature, like it's ingrained. But then if we really want to be better as humans, as individuals, we have to look at ourselves for, like you said, look in a mirror and ask ourselves, what did we do wrong? There's just no way that someone will walk in and 4 hours in, they're going to lunch, they're not coming back, and just it's their fault. We could say that, but I think that's going to be very detrimental for us. The right way to approach the situation is to just look in a mirror and say, what did we do wrong here? Like, because there's a lot of things that we did wrong if someone doesn't even want to finish their entire first day with us. And those situations happen way more often than we are honest to admit. I'm not saying you and I. We as an industry, like, they happen way more often that it's being talked about. So I think it's very important that you're bringing this point, because that's a real issue.
You and I know a lot of the same people. We've been in the industry for a long time. I use examples like I think those people that really make a party out of day one and welcoming those individuals, especially maintenance guys right now, it's so hard. Our industry, everybody's fighting for a good maintenance guy. It's 110 outside, today in Dallas. It's day after a holiday. There's probably 10 AC calls. Um, those guys driving to work know they're just going to have the snot beat out of them. Um, and what are we doing for our maintenance teams to really keep them engaged? What are we doing? What are we doing on day one to keep those people excited? And I use examples like, um, Kate Good from the Apartment All Stars is a really big is someone who I admire a lot. And when she started building her first apartment community in Houston, I remember her day one for onboarding. She would post them a lot on social media and really make a big party and production of welcoming those team members to her community. That was, that apartment community was her baby. It was her first one. And the funny thing about Kate is she posts a lot of welcoming videos, but you never see anything. You never see anything after that because people don't leave Kate Good. She's built a culture where people stay at her communities, her residents, her team members, for a very, very, very long time. One of the things that excites me about Western Wealth is that when I found out I was coming here, I went online and we're very blessed to have a recruiting department here, which as an operator takes 50% of the work off my plate in trying to source people. I think our recruiting team, who's led by an incredible woman named Tavon, is we're so lucky to have them, and we need to do our part when they're out finding top talent. We need to be really on top of it and get back to them quite quickly because everybody's fighting for those people. But maintenance guys make or break your whole property, and we need to do right by those people. And boy, oh boy, if anybody needs to know about culture, because they're the ones that are, like I said, just having the snot beat out of them every single day. And it's not getting any cooler out. Our summers are only getting hotter. It's not miraculously next year we're going to have a better summer. You're in Atlanta, Georgia, where the humidity is 1,000,000,000%. It's tough grinding wrenches outside and turning wrenches and doing the things that we need to do every day. So, we have to be nice to people. Lead with your heart.
Michael, before we go to the next topic, I wanted to ask you, how do you do on time? Are you okay if we go over the top of the hour?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's so much more that I wanted to talk to you about. And of course, if we can go over the top of the hour, I get it. But if we can, I'll just keep going for a little while, for a little more.
Yeah, I'm good.
So next thing I wanted to talk to you about, I read in your bio about your experience with your approach to problem solving, starting from being the black and white person to being more tolerant and open-minded. So I'd like for you to take us on this journey and tell us about this transformation that you have and how did it happen?
For me, it was, I used to be the type of person that I was very much a rule follower. I used to think that if it was, written on a piece of paper, and that was the rule, that it was very black and white. And there are certainly rules in our industry that are very black and white. I used to live my life like that. And I found at one point that I was not surrounded. I did not have a good community personally. And I didn't like the person that I was. And I learned, actually, I'll reference my grandfather again. He taught me to see life a little bit in the grays, in the shadows. And while it's a rule, the interpretation of that rule is also important. And if you can interpret that rule with a little bit of compassion and kindness, when you're black and white, it takes the compassion piece out. And if you can take a minute and put yourself in the other person's shoes, maybe there's a way we can come to a solution while still following the rule, but achieving a good outcome for both parties. I used to think that this is it, this is what it is, this is what you have to do, and this is the way I'm going to get promoted. I will tell you that for me, I became much more successful in my career when I understood that there are two sides to every story. It wasn't all about me. In fact, I became much more successful when I stopped thinking about me and I started thinking about the people I surround myself with and my teams. I want the teams that I lead, the teams that I am honored to lead. I want them to come along on this journey with me because they want to, not because I'm their boss and they have to. Everybody will follow your direction because there's always going to be someone above you, and there's going to be, and I have to follow my boss's direction. And my team, just by nature of where I stand in a hierarchy of an org chart, they have to follow my direction, or they choose to leave. I want people to follow the direction that I get and be able to, disseminate out to them, not because they have to, but because they want to, and we all share the same vision. And with, changing from sort of a black and white thinker to a little bit more in the gray, because, there's a lot of gray in this world. Nobody knows what's going on, in that other person's world at that moment. I found myself to be compassionate, to be a kinder person, and my life really changed. So I think, for me, just me personally, if I'm ever in an interview, I don't want to talk about what type of leader I am. I want to give you the contact information for the people that have worked with me in the past and let them speak about what type of leader I am. Because I can tell you, let the people that worked with me and alongside me tell you what type of leader I am. And I'm not one of those people that's afraid to do that. So, especially in an industry where you have to pivot sometimes on a moment's notice, especially right now in what we're going through in our industry, you better be able to operate in the gray, or else you're not going to be successful.
You just brought something, something just clicked, and I remember something that's being said a lot. Reputation is what other people say about you when you're not in a room. And that's exactly what you're counting on. You're doing things to make sure that when you're not in a room, people are going to take care of you. They're going to say, a great thing about you because this is what you have done. Like, this is who you are. Like, you're never going to be afraid to leave the room and for others to say whatever they wanted to say about you. That's a great, that's a great, I love the confidence. And also I love the fact that you took yourself through this journey and you just become the better person. In fact, your story resonates with me a lot. I used to be a lot, just like you said, the black and white type of person, take it or leave it. I don't care. Like, this is what the rule is. And I realized that I hurt a lot of people in the process.
Yeah.
Like, it was just not the right thing to do. I had to change my ways. I really had. And once I started realizing and embracing the change, I've seen, like, my life has changed for the better in ways that I can't even describe. So I resonate a lot with your story, and I thank you for sharing it in here because it's very inspirational. Michael, I want to go back a little bit to your grandfather, and you mentioned him as your main role model in your life. And I wanted to ask you, what are some things that you learned from him about the business? You mentioned that he was a successful businessman, and from dealing with people.
My grandfather, it really is an inspiration to me. Both of my grandfathers, actually, but specifically my mother's father. Um, he owned a large flooring and tile business in Canada, and um, Canada, especially, everything is through unions. And when he was starting out, and he didn't have, my grandfather started out as a greengrocer. Really, he worked with his father in a grocery store in a little small, five and dime store in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And say as he was getting older and he married my grandmother and then started a family, he needed something that was sustainable, and he started a flooring and tile business, and did okay, and then took on a partner and really became big. And my grandfather um, was lucky enough to secure the contract for Walmart when Walmart was moving into Canada, and his company did all the floors for Walmarts in Canada. Um, and my grandfather, I remember every Friday night as a family we would get together for dinner. And some days my grandfather would come home from dinner or come home from work and just beat down, exhausted. And some days were very, very, more upbeat and uplifting. And I asked him once, I was like, what's the difference, Grandpa? And uh, my grandfather dealt with a lot of unions in Canada. Because all of those contracts were, all of those people that worked for him belonged to a union. And he was, sometimes a union is a great thing, and sometimes it's a bit of a stranglehold. But to my grandfather's point, and what really shaped me is he told me something so simple, and it's a saying that that everybody uses, but you attract more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And when he was negotiating with unions, my grandfather didn't take a really stern, hard approach. It's very much like what we were just talking about, from black and white to gray, and that was the genesis of my grandfather's career. Um, if you don't go in like such a hard butt to the unions in negotiations, you're going to get a lot more um, with honey than you do with vinegar. And um, I say that to say that when my grandfather passed away, and um, at his funeral, I was speaking at his funeral, and I remember looking out, and the synagogue was full of people, and there were probably about 40 people there that had retired from my grandfather's company that I had known since birth. And at the time I was at my grandfather's funeral, my grandfather died 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So I was in my early 40s. And it was shocking to me that um, all of those people, he created that culture that those people wanted to come and pay their respects, not to just someone that had a job. That he took care of their families for years by giving a great environment to work in. But that really touched me in that moment. And I still continue to learn things from my grandfather, even though he's not here. And I still try to be that type of leader every day. Um, I just think it's so important. But thank you for that question. It brings a smile to my face.
Well, once again, we have a common history here. I've learned a lot from my father's father, and most of the stuff that I learned was actually after he passed away. When I was a kid growing up, I took, what he said, for granted for the most part, unfortunately. I was that stupid, young and stupid, right? And as I grew older, all of his sayings came back to me, and I was shaking my head and thinking to myself how right this man was. He was a very humble person. He went to the Second World War. 4 or 5 of his fingers on the right hand, got cut in, like a bomb. He never spoke about it. He went back home. He raised children. He sent them to college. He never passed like fourth grade. He barely could read and write, and with a little salary and a little money that he made, just because he was such a disciplined person, he was able to put 4 children in school. So a little bit of a different story, but in so many ways so inspirational. I still go back up to these days. Like, he passed in year 2000, so 23 years later, I still remember his teachings. I mean, it's that important. He had that type of impact on my life. So everything that you say resonates with me so much.
It's so important to be open-minded to that. And my grandparents taught me a lot of other things. My grandmother was a funny woman, and I loved my grandparents dearly. And it really shaped me to who I am today. I, they taught me the love of travel, and thankfully through them, they traveled all over the world, and it sparked my passion for travel. And now I've traveled all over the world, but what I wouldn't give for 10 more minutes with my grandfather, if what I would give every dollar I have to have 10 more minutes, to have one more conversation. And one of the things I talked about in my grandfather's eulogy, when we talk about being a good person, and when I mean a good person, I mean a good person to your core. I would joke that I would write a book, if I ever wrote a book, and the title of the book would be What I Learned from My Grandfather in 2 minutes or less. My grandfather called me all the time, and we were never on the phone for more than 2 minutes. Our conversations lasted 2 minutes. And I never understood that, because I wanted to be on the phone longer, but 2 minutes. And then as I got older and I started going to Canada more as he got older, I would sit with him when he would come home from work. And my grandfather worked up till the day he died. Literally, like, my grandfather was 95 years old when he passed away. And he passed away on a Friday. And funny enough, I was in Prague. I was standing in the town square in Prague. And when I got the phone call, and that Monday he had gone to work, went home, wasn't feeling well, ended up in the hospital that Monday evening, and he passed away on a Friday. Thank goodness he didn't have a long, protracted illness. But that was his work ethic. He worked till the day he died. But what I learned as I got older, and I would sit with my grandfather before we would, go out to dinner or something, is that he had a call list. He had a call sheet, and it happened to be a lot of widows of his friends. And he would call, like, my Aunt Shirley and Mrs. Herberman, and there was like 5 or 6 other people. And he was on the phone with them for 2 minutes or less. But every day my grandfather would call and check in. And he needed that was his touchstone. He needed everybody to know that he cared about them, and they cared about him. But I would write that book, and it would be What I Learned from My Grandfather in 2 minutes or less. And what I would kill to have one more 2-minute phone call.
That's such an amazing story, Michael. Thank you for sharing. Super inspirational too, because I didn't realize how important it is for years, how important it is that you actually give people your time, because time is it's a non-renewable resource. When you spend a minute, every time I get someone to come on my podcast, it's like a 1-hour commitment or more. And I'm super grateful for everybody that takes that time out of their day to just come talk to me. I feel so important. I just feel that it means the world to me, because time is not something that we get back. Once it's spent, it's gone for good. And for someone like him to make time, to make it like a conscientious decision to every single day to reach out to people and check on them, I mean, that's just an amazing example. I could see why you embrace him as your number one role model in life.
I'm very lucky, and it's really taught me to be kind and compassionate. And that you shared with me your list of of topics you want to talk about, and it everything that I take from my grandfather touches on a lot of the things. You know, we could talk about employee retention, we can talk about our industry, we can talk about, you know, financial training, we can talk about all the things, but the thing that I can hearken just about every decision that I make on a daily basis to something my grandfather has taught me.
Oh, you're right. We could talk a lot about the industry. I think I'd like to do a second episode. There's so many topics and so many things that I didn't get to talk to you about during this episode. I would love to have you back for a second episode a couple of months down the road. You know,
That'd be very kind of you.
of course, because I can't get enough of, you know, this conversation. I don't want to cut it short. The goal is not to go through some questions and check boxes. So I like for us to continue. But in the next section of our conversation, I want to have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Sure.
What are your favorite books, professional and nonfiction?
Wow, favorite books. Anything by W.E.B. Griffin. Everything by Stuart Woods. I like a lot of crime, you know, crime dramas, and it's also my, you know, my TV selection. Anything that's British, anything that's English, anything, you know, I love a good English crime drama.
I'm big on crime TV series mainly, right?
Yeah.
I should say I'm very, very big. I love them. They're very well made. Next one. How did a failure or apparent failure set you up for future success, Michael?
Some people could look at it as a failure, but I think that look, I'll be very, very honest. I got fired from a job after 90 days, and that was a real gut check moment. It was one of those things that I was asked to do something that I know went against my personal values and core. I would not do something that I knew was unethical, and I paid the price for it. I paid the price financially. I paid the price mentally. Getting fired is a humbling experience. I don't wish it upon anybody, but I know that I came out on the other side of it, making a decision that I knew my grandfather would be proud that I made. Again, leading back to, you know, the people that, you know, shape our lives. I could, if my grandfather had been alive, I would have picked up the phone, I would have called him, and he would have said, "You did the right thing." And that is what it is. I think that, you know, that's what it is. I'm also not afraid to fail as I get a little bit older, because you can only learn from it.
That's all failures are, learning experiences. Yep. And I think our predictability for being successful comes from the fact of, from how we look at failure. You know, is it something that, you know, you're stuck with it and you just carry it with you on your entire life, and you let it, like, you know, get a space in your head, or you just take it as a learning opportunity and you learn how to repeat it again, you learn from it?
It's humbling, and being able to say that, and being open, it's humbling, but being confident enough to share that on a podcast of your size. I would never have, in my younger days, admitted that I got fired from something. Look, everybody has come up against a roadblock in their career, and anybody that hasn't is kidding themselves.
It really takes a lot, and it takes the bigger person to just, you know, to share this type of stuff, because like you said, you know, people think about, well, it's my image, it's my, you know, how are people going to perceive? But very few people understand that it's important that we talk about real life right here, and you wouldn't be the person that you are without those experiences. And for you not to share them with the audience, I think they couldn't see exactly who you are, like what shaped you, what got you to become the person that you are today. The very successful person, I should say. Like, you know, you can become that successful as you have been, as you are today, without those challenges, without those things that happen in your life. And I think it's important that we talk about those things more often, just so people understand that success is not a linear trajectory. It's not like a arrow like that. It's a lot of up and down, because that's what life is.
Everybody has those gut check moments. Everybody is going to be faced at some point in their career in this industry with something that is, is going to test their morals and their values. And I could be fired from 100 different jobs. At the end of the day, I know I still have my integrity, and anybody in this industry is going to, at some point in their career, have that gut check moment where they know something is wrong. And true, amazing leaders are not going to sacrifice, are not going to take the easy path. They're going to take the hard path and take the consequences that come with that. Because at the end of the day, no matter what we get paid or what our titles are or how fancy things are, the only thing we have, we come with our integrity, and we better leave with our integrity. And I'm a firm believer in that.
I couldn't say it better. Michael, what advice would you have for a young college or high school student ready to enter the real world?
See the world with some gray in it. Be open-minded. Don't be so hard thinking. And whether you're in this industry or you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a musician, you're an actor, find your passion, live your passion. The conversations that you think have no meaning in your life, be open to them, because you don't necessarily recognize now the value of that conversation. Advice I used to get, I wish I had thought about it. If I could go back in a time machine to day one freshman year of college, I would tell myself to be a lot more open-minded, and not everything is a drag. Not everything is people beating up on you. People in your life really do have your best interest involved, and be open-minded to listening to it. You don't have to act on all of it, but don't be so close-minded.
I couldn't think of a better way to close this part of our conversation, Michael, than this. I do want to give you an opportunity in closing to say something you wish you would have said you didn't have the opportunity to say yet, or to maybe answer a question you wish I would have asked and I didn't get a chance to.
I think, first off, thank you for that. I think that our industry right now, and we're at a really we're at a pivotal time in our industry. We're at a very scary time in our industry. I think a lot of quote unquote shops are faced with some tough times ahead. You have to surround yourself with really good people. Hold on to those people as best you can. I think a lot of operators are going to have to reinvent themselves in the next year to year and a half. Understand that people are always going to need a place to live. There will always be apartments out there. There's good times and there's bad times. How we operate in the bad time and how we operate as operators in the bad time is very, very important. Hold on to your people, treat your people right. Lean into those relationships that you have with other people in the industry, because you never know when you may need someone or you may need a job, especially now. A lot of companies are making tough decisions. That's not to say it's doom and gloom by any means, but treat your people right. Create incredible cultures at your companies. Find the value in every single team member. Figure out what they're passionate about. Do something nice for your teams every day if you can. And maybe that's, as an RPM, you picking up a report for your manager to help them with, or take 5 minutes every day to understand, or take 5 minutes to check in with your team that you're never so busy that a 2-minute conversation can't make the difference. Seek to understand what's going on and just be compassionate, because being compassionate in the hard times is going to pay dividends when times are back to normal. And those team members that work with you, work for you, are really going to remember how you were as a leader in the hard times.
I couldn't think of a better way to wrap up this conversation, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrian.
In closing, if someone wants to reach out to you, Michael, what are the best ways to get in contact with you? They want to connect with you, someone in our audience here.
LinkedIn is an incredible platform. I stay very engaged in it, on it, and reach out to me through my LinkedIn or at M. Izenberg at westernwealthcommunities.com.
Thanks again, Michael, for coming. Everybody, thank you very much for taking the time to watch us today. This is Multifamily Chronicles. I'm your host, Adrian Danila, and I hope to see you back here soon. Have a great day.